welcome back to another episode of What Wrestling Podcast, WWP Reviews Wrestlemania 36. I am 50% of the hosts of this show. My name is Miguel, and I'm joined by El De Niro.
Yes, it's WrestleMania time, finally.
So, I feel like I should have said something like, how are you, not just left you, and that's him. Because normally he would wave or perhaps throw a thumbs up to the imaginary cameras there. But yes, how are you today, El De Niro?
I'm doing well. It's a very strange time to be alive, and that will definitely be reflected in our view of what was a very strange WrestleMania. But in spite of those things, and in the strangest of circumstances, I am good. Things could be a lot worse for me. Gotta be thankful and sensible and all of those things. So yeah, doing well. How about you?
I'm not too bad, thanks. Just living it one day at a time. I'll try not to say the word unprecedented, because I think everyone has to drink a drink if you see the word unprecedented these days.
That's true.
But yeah, we all know what's going on. I mean, there's no point even calling reference to it. Should we just dive right into this?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's what the people are here for, and they're probably sick of everyone talking about the apocalypse.
yeah, as it were, yeah. So, due to COVID-19, WrestleMania was behind now. So there's this disease going around. No, so yeah, we opened it up with Stephanie McMahon, and she's kind of in the studio saying, hello, welcome to WrestleMania, thank you for watching it. We all know the reasons why there's circumstances outside, and enjoy the show. So, First things first, in a general sense, did you lose notice that the ring was empty and that there's nobody there for it, or did you kind of always have that in the back of your mind when you watched anything?
I think it is impossible to get away from it. There is only one of the... Well, let's say two, I'll be fair. Two of the in-ring matches, not including the special videos that we had that were two of the matches. There were two of the big matches on the second night genuinely took me out of the realization that it's an empty arena. But it's... I don't know. I don't even know how to explain the way I feel around it, because I remember when they announced it was going to take place at the Performance Center, lots of people were like, "Oh, they should just postpone it. They should blah 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 blah." And I didn't agree or disagree with anybody. I don't know how you're supposed to handle it, and I feel like to make that call, you just have to have a certain level of knowledge and experience that I simply don't have.
I was gonna say though. This is kind of a thing that I think most people misunderstood. WrestleMania was taped about 4 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
So this was taped at the time they basically first taped the first set of Raws and SmackDowns. They would have the people that were needed in the ring, they'd come back out, get tested, go straight back to the next segment. So they booked WrestleMania, the following Raw and SmackDown, the previous weeks building up to it, which is why you pretty much saw the same 6 or 7 people every week on Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah.
So I was enraged myself because I thought it was live. I thought this was going to be just it's live, but they're behind, in front of no one. I didn't understand that by the time people were complaining, it had already been taped. So
yeah.
It's one of those weird ones where it's it should have been cancelled, but at the same time, it's not like they legitimately did it live anyways, so you might just want it cancelled because there's nobody there, or because, obviously it's not a big arena, it doesn't feel the same, but in terms of the safety of the wrestlers, that kind of put me at ease a bit more, knowing that, they already pre-taped everything, and that's why the Roman Reigns stuff was a bit weird, because 1 week he's there, and then the Usos showed symptoms, and then he was like, right, I'm not coming back to film the match that would have been the next thing they filmed, and the week after, or possibly 2 weeks after. So he took himself straight out of it, as we know, but there's a lot of gruntiness, they made sure to talk a lot, didn't they?
Yeah,
the wrestlers during the...
I straight up found that uncomfortable. I have a obviously it's 2020. Everybody has anxiety over something. But I seriously had to watch this with the volume turned all the fucking way down. And like, I'm actually like genuinely serious about that. Like, it is not, it's really alarming when the noise coming out of your television is, and it is just relentless. And it's just, without the crowd sounds, it is so uncomfortable to watch. Like, and I'm not like being a sensitive little snowflake or anything like that. I mean, like, this genuinely just touches a part of the nerves in my brain that just screams, like fight or flight response or something like that. I found this to be nerve-wracking. Because
did you ever get used to it though throughout, like, or was it just in those matches that you said, like, it always stayed with you, like that little?
It stayed with me like a sore thumb. It was very, very, very obvious, and obviously, like, some people are louder than others and stuff like that. But at no point did I feel like I was watching WrestleMania. And I don't think like that's necessarily a bad thing either. I respect that they put on an event in a time where no sports institutions are operating any kind of way. And I wonder if there's actually some crazy, like, inverse to expectations where this will actually create more wrestling fans, because there are going to be people who watch this out of having nothing else to watch. And if they liked this, imagine what they're going to think when they see it with an audience. It just might have that weird sort of unexpected, like, the opposite that you think will happen is what actually happens. And so it could be a stroke of genius to go ahead with the show. I respect that they have a business, they have to keep it running, and if nothing else, it was something for me to do on a Saturday night. I didn't watch this.
I was going to say.
Yeah, like, it had to be done, really. I didn't watch the second night live because I had work the next day, working from home and all that. But it was strange. It's like, without a doubt, the strangest wrestling thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And I was a WCW fan, so that'll give you a perspective. But I don't know. What was the question again?
No, just what you made of the silence and lack of crowd and stuff.
To be honest,
I do.
Sorry, I cut you off there.
Go ahead.
To me, that is like the main talking point. Unfortunately, that is the main talking point. That's the main thing to take away, is that for me, this as an experiment, it just doesn't work. Wrestling without an audience is too strange. It's a type of television that no one is accustomed to seeing, and then
it's surreal.
Yeah, it's surreal, and it's essentially they've like wrestling. The best description I've ever heard about WWE is that WWE is a reality TV show about a wrestling promotion, right? So it's like Total Bellas, except the subject isn't the Bellas, the subject is the wrestling promotion itself. And without certain reactions and stuff like that, it's like every single match is basically like the Big Brother diary room or something. Like, it's so isolated, and
it's a pizza without cheese. It's it's a meal without, it's coffee without the sugar. It's there, like, you can see the ingredients of it, but someone doesn't taste quite right. I was gonna say as well, like, obviously, not to give huge spoilers about what we're gonna review next, but we were watching ECW, and that is, from that to this, it is a huge extreme change, if you pardon my pun. It is. It's a ginormous change, because it's the fans make the show,
the whole fucking show,
and the whole effing show, and you're kind of it's hitting you in the head when you're watching something like ECW, where it's like, oh my god, imagine if this didn't have a crowd.
Yeah,
like, it'll be just sad. So for me, because I'd been watching all the SmackDowns and Raws, like, preceding this, my brain kind of got used to it, and it kind of felt like wrestling was a stage play instead of a soap opera. As you said, it was more like a Broadway performance, where it's just like, no one's supposed to talk while they talk.
Yeah.
No one's supposed to talk when they wrestle. You just shut up and sit there and take it in. for the most part, like, I was kind of, every now and then I would just be like, this is surreal, and I'd watch it and I'd be like, oh my god, it made, like, as you said, it made me and everyone who watched it, I'm sure, on a Saturday and on Sunday, if you watched both, at the time, live or otherwise, it made you feel like something was happening, and it made you feel like, despite the reason why you know why it's empty, for a while there, it was kind of just about the wrestling. Like, people were just talking about what they were seeing, as opposed to just Twitter for a while was just kind of more, there's a less scary place, I suppose, less kind of dark place. So it just, there's a little bit of light in the darkness. In terms of results wise, I couldn't believe that Shayna lost. Every other result was kind of along the lines of what I thought. But Shayna Baszler lost incredibly clean, which was weird.
And it was that match was like one of the better one of the better non-gimmicky matches, let's say.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, it felt like a very unsatisfactory ending. And to be honest, the way a lot of the matches ended, it was very clear that they were just trying to keep the feuds going. Which is another thing that runs counter to the WrestleMania narrative that we're used to.
Your WrestleMania is, it's the end. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not the beginning. But also, if you notice as well, it was like finishes were quite. This isn't your typical WrestleMania booking.
No.
I mean, other than the main event, we'll talk about those. It's in the televised main events, not anything else. Other than that, it was not like, look, when I don't know, Elias hit did that roll up, he won. Like, it was no, like, 100 fucking 2 near falls and 15 finishers in every match. It was just like, you hit your move, it's over, that's it.
Yeah, you're right. It was sort of a dark match feel to everything.
Yeah, so it was that weird thing that, like, actually, on this night, any move can win it. Yeah. And that was what was crazy about it. In a roundabout way, every single move could win it. Just a quick note on Elias versus King Corbin. I don't know if Elias can actually wrestle. We were trying to look out to see if he has any moves. I don't think he's got any wrestling moves. He does a knee, and he does, like, a weird net breaker, but I don't think he actually has any wrestling moves. Suplexes, I don't know, power bombs, DDTs. I don't think he can wrestle, which was just something I noticed about that. The ladder match was surreal because you can hear the ladder fall and how rickety they actually are.
Yeah, man, that's it's like that match. It was really nothing wrong with it, but I still just couldn't get into it, no matter how hard I tried.
My favorite in-ring match of the first night was Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins.
I think that's the only one that was, like, let's say, acceptable. And I think it's also just a testament to how good those two are. And I felt like everybody who we think of as a genuine superstar, like, they really stepped up and they shined. Like the Elias King Corbin, like, that might as well have just not happened. I don't remember a single thing from it. I'm not invested in that. I don't give a shit about either of those guys. The Sami Zayn match, like, I appreciate that they tried to do something different.
A lot of fun.
Yeah. But it still just didn't. I don't know. I to be honest, I just think it's impossible for me to objectively attempt to objectively review this because of the most notable absence in it was just
your hands are tied.
Yeah.
So anything that you say, it's like, keep in mind there's an asterisk on what we saw. So
and that's the thing. I feel like that's always going to be there about this WrestleMania. I feel like any of the things like Owens jumping off the sign or whatever, none of these things are going to be in any compilations from WrestleMania in the future. Like, nothing that happened here just has any semblance of importance to me. Even the title changes, like, they're just not WrestleMania moments because they don't have the fireworks.
I actually didn't like the pyro. No, I was just gonna say quickly that, like, it also was weird Kevin Owens saying, "This is my WrestleMania moment. Look at this." You shouldn't say what the moment is. You should just do it, and other people tell you what's a moment, not a moment. Also, it must have been weird to wrestle when you can hear the commentators no less than 2 feet, unless you're JBL, who apparently was there in body only. I had a lot of trouble listening to anything he was saying. In a night where tuning out people talking was basically impossible.
Yeah.
And then we had Undertaker. Actually, no. Before that, we had obviously Roman got replaced by Braun, who beat Goldberg. Not to do a you tweeted this, I tweeted this, but I believe a gentleman made a very good point, and he said that why the fuck has he got any security with him?
Yeah, it's so fucking takes you out of it, doesn't it? Like, I don't know.
Who is he protecting? Who's he being protected by? Who to? Like, what?
I think it's, as a wrestling fan, it's my most self-demeaning position, and my most controversial position is the fact that I am a complete fucking mark for Goldberg, but I have pretty much nothing to say in defense of this title run, that match, anything to do with anything. I was quite excited to see Goldberg versus Roman, just for the novelty, just for it being like my favorite guy of yesteryear versus my favorite guy of today. I would have liked to have seen that in a packed arena to 150 million fans, but what we got instead was quite honestly a fucking complete waste of everybody's time. And I kind of
SmackDown
like
versus
I
Raw
love
match, this was.
Yeah, it was nonsense. Like, and I love Goldberg to death. He is like, will always be remembered by me as my first ever favorite wrestler. But like, I really fucking hope he does not come back for another fucking Saudi show or another title run or like one more spirit. Like, just please, just stop it now, because the fans hate him, and I would like for him to be remembered as this guy was ahead of his time. This guy had an explosive moveset. This guy brought like an MMA feel to WCW, similar to what Ken Shamrock did to WWE. That's what I want. I don't want it to be this guy kept on coming back and fucking burying younger talent for Saudi blood money.
He was looking a bit rough at WrestleMania as well. He had like his latest couple of matches. He had by the way, the man's got incredible physique, but he had like the old man physique now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and everything's just a little what's the word? Like not jelly, but you can see like the muscles aren't quite as
definition
sprouted.
Is fading. It's
but like he still works out probably just as hard, but it's just like the body just can't keep it up, if you will. He wasn't looking his age. I said this when I was watching at the time. He wasn't looking his age, but he was looking old. Like he'll never look 53, but he was looking older. Mm-hmm. So Braun won. They literally did a SmackDown vs. Raw match. They both started with 3 finishers. Fair enough. So what did you make of the Boneyard match? Because personally, I thought it was going to be a shit show. I thought it was going to be lame as fuck. Yeah, but something about that weird sort of I suppose it's the fact that they're self-aware about how fucking silly everything is.
Yeah, that's
that helps.
That will be Matt Hardy's legacy on the wrestling industry, and I'm so fucking proud of him that he was able to come up with this like notion, and like not only come up with it, but like he has now transcended like the whole industry basically, and it really is like, I don't know, it's such a fucking major notch on that guy's headboard in wrestling, if you will.
Of all the things that like you can imagine like Matt Hardy like ever achieving, is like being responsible for this weird new genre of like wrestling meets sci-fi meets action movie meets zombie movie.
Yeah, it's just the daring to do something different. And I'll be honest, like obviously in terms of quality, I do not think that this is the greatest thing ever, but like
no,
for the night that
it also
was
is the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, this was so fucking necessary. Like we really needed this, and from like a whole like I don't know, like a multifaceted perspective, it was needed. It was needed because we needed that semblance of something other than men fighting each other in an empty arena. But also it was like the reincarnation of the American Badass, which was great. He drove to the Boneyard on a motorbike to Metallica,
playing Metallica. Yes.
Like, I don't know, that was like sensational. And then like all the trash talk and stuff, it was so cheesy, so shitty, but also like the man looked so fucking cool.
This way,
like,
boy.
Yeah. You want more? I got a lot of more. All right.
I got loads of more. I got 500 punches or more.
Yeah.
There's so many things I wasn't expecting, which would be these two to gel in the slightest, because AJ Styles isn't really like a wrestler that you can say he can carry his matches just by his acting, not his acting, his performing off of the ring, if that makes sense, his moves. But he was charismatic as they come from start to finish. Undertaker played it perfectly, and then you had Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson when they're like, it's not over yet, and they had the fucking goon show up. God, it really just put a smile on my face at like 2-3 in the morning at this point, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. It ended exactly where it should have as far as night one goes.
Yeah, with 3 men being kayfabe murdered.
So long, everybody.
Like, they're dead. They're not coming back. Like, one of them got thrown off a roof. One of them got burned. And one of them got buried alive.
They are, yeah.
Like, they're dead.
So, yeah, they weren't on Raw. I'll happy to report. And then so then we had no, I mean, if you want to throw anything else about that match, obviously do it. But I think it's one of those where it's like I wouldn't necessarily seek out to see this WrestleMania, but I'll happily watch that match 2 or 3 more times in my life just to kind of take it in, because I'm sure there's bits that we missed, and obviously more on that in the second night as well. So should we jump into night 2 then?
Yeah, I think I agree exactly with what you said about night 1, and to be honest, I'll go a step further and say I will never watch any of those matches ever again in my life, but the Boneyard is something I'll definitely revisit just to be like, Jesus, remember that? Yeah, I'll throw that on now and have a look.
Did that actually, AJ Styles actually die? He certainly did. You could even argue that this match was made better by the fact that it didn't take place in the ring, because I don't know what those two would have done, because Taker was looking rough. There's a documentary, I don't know if you saw it, but they kept trailing the documentary about Undertaker.
Oh, no, I actually didn't.
It's really, really interesting, because it starts off at WrestleMania, I want to say 33 in 2017, with his match with Roman. Documented all the way up to I think probably until the match with Goldberg. It's essentially like a series about The Undertaker, and it's like kind of the first time where he's kind of broken character.
Nice.
He's talking about his career. Little thing I didn't know, but he was quite fucked by the time we got to the Roman Reigns match.
Yeah.
And then it was visibly fucked up. But they kept trailing that. I'll probably give that a watch, and I think everybody gives it a watch, as well as this match. So night 2 started off with a couple of tennis players. It was Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley, and good God, the female tennis joke was trending on Twitter, and they just were bellowing and screaming, and this was the worst of screams.
Yeah, Charlotte, the WrestleMania of last year with the triple threat with Becky, Charlotte, and Ronda, I had to mute my television when I watched that in my house, because it was like, and then it was like, and it is so like, I just can't do it. It makes my heart pound. I don't know, I can't fucking deal with it. So, I did actually like the match. I like Charlotte a lot. I think she's really
like the
fucking
story.
good. Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Like, it's this one actually worked for me. It's similar to the Becky Lynch one, I guess. They're both they both embody their characters so well, and they both have their personas are built so purposefully that it's kind of impossible for them to do any wrong, I think. And
they carry themselves really well.
Yeah, they do. So, this match worked for me. I don't understand why Charlotte has the NXT Women's Championship. I don't know if it's a good thing for NXT because it bolsters its star power, or if it's a bad thing for NXT because it diminishes its brand. I don't know. I don't really care. I think the answer to that question probably depends on the mood I'm in on the day. But it was a good match, and I enjoyed it. So.
I think it was I see it as Charlotte's going down there to try and elevate whoever beats her, or she's going down there to make sure they get ratings. But I don't know if she's exactly a ratings mover. I just know that obviously they're trying to keep her and Becky separated because Becky's not going to lose. By the way, should mention obviously Becky's held on to the Raw title for a whole solid year now.
Yeah.
which is pretty crazy. But because and I suppose they didn't really want for Charlotte to hold the SmackDown title, because then all you get is both of them winning all the time. And because also they're the kind of the faces of the women's division. So I guess having her go down to NXT and wrestling people there, having her wrestle NXT type matches, which are 25 to half to 30 minutes long, to half an hour long, I think it'll bring people up, because people will be able to say they can go with Charlotte, who's like a 52-time women's champion. So and it keeps her away from Becky, and Bayley, which at this point it's a blessing for all the people involved. We had Aleister Black, Bobby Lashley. Don't know why. There you go. I quite like the Otis thing. Don't really like Ziggler, but that storyline felt like something that was just, again, it was a little bit different from everything else at the moment.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Maybe in a WrestleMania with people, a match that's kind of felt like soap opera was seemed out of place, but they gave you the happy ending, wink wink nudge nudge, as Otis got with Mandy.
His his belly is exceptionally round. I don't think I have ever seen a belly that round. Like it's
beautiful.
Like, it's like, I don't like. Is that just his body type? Because like I know that obviously the whole thing is that he's supposed to be this, like, he's ugly and overweight, and that's like I understand that's part of the story and stuff, but like I'm actually,
he can go.
I know. Yeah, I'm genuinely asking, like, is that his body type, or is that just what happens when you have a certain weight? Like it's.
Yeah.
I've never seen a human look quite like him before. And I mean
it's
that in
like yes.
There's no way of saying that without sounding like a fucking cunt. I know, but like that's just what.
Well, no, but you can say the same thing about Mandy Rose, and a lot of people that like Mandy Rose either at the other end of that spectrum, right?
Mm-hmm.
So low key, appreciated Sonya Deville dressing up like a female Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
Don't know if you noticed that. She had like the Shield 2.0 sort of attire, but yeah, I don't know, but I think the fact that this man can do the worm or the caterpillar, we should say, pretty impressive. Yeah. And then the show grinded to a fucking halt. This last man standing match took years off my life. Never mind Randy or Edge. What were they thinking?
Yeah, this is the longest. I don't know, man.
36 minutes, dude.
The only good thing about it was that most of it took place outside of the ring, so you did sort of feel like, oh well, this is whatever. But I don't know, dude. I do have some good things to say about it. But I will never ever 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 watch this again in my entire life. No fucking way. Not even if you. I think that I don't know. Would $5,000? Probably I'd do it for $5,000. Would I do it for $4,500? I don't know.
Do it for. I say I'd do it for. I'll put this to you. $5,000. Mm-hmm. You have to watch it 3 times without falling asleep. So we're saying essentially $5,000 for under 2 hours work. Would you be able to do it?
I probably would, because I suffer from insomnia. That's the only reason.
Oh, you're playing right into my hands. Insomnia finally comes up through. I'm just glad that Edge won. I'm glad that Edge is back. I don't know what they would have done. See, this is one of the matches that is the reverse, like the Undertaker match or even the Otis match, where this could have benefited with human beings there.
Yeah.
They kind of went, it was nice to see backstage, but this isn't like 90s backstage where there's some weird shit there. Like, why is that kitchen sink there? Why is Al Snow wrestling Road Dogg in a bar literally outside?
Yeah.
This was just corporate offices and things. Although I did kind of like Edge's elbow when he hung from the top of the office ceiling, which had a cage for some reason in it. Elbowed it. The actual finish was really good.
Yeah.
Edge's acting was on point.
Yeah. There's just amazing storytelling right there. Like that really fucking won me over. Not to the point where I liked the match, but just from it where I was like, okay, this is a good moment in a weird WrestleMania, let's say.
Yeah. And then we had the Street Profits, who defeated Angel Garza and Austin Theory. It was nice to see the EST come in. I was going to call the boss. I'm talking about, of course, what's her name? I have just
Zelina
completely
Vega.
No, no,
Oh,
no,
you
no.
mean the Belair, Bianca
The
Belair?
other one, yes, Bianca Belair. Also found out why she has EST written on her hair and her tights because she's the fastest, the greatest, the
Cool.
smartest. Yeah, she cut an exposition promo on Raw, and I was like, oh, okay. Because I just kept thinking, like, is that like some sort of, is that like an area code or something where she lives?
Yeah.
No, because she's the est of everything. Greatest, fastest, strongest, you name it. And then we had Bayley. We actually really enjoyed this match because it was just nice to see the following. Bayley, Naomi, and Sasha Banks. Could have done without Lacey and Tamina, but I'm so glad Bayley won.
Yeah.
Not a big fan of Lacey Evans. I don't think Tamina has any business being at a wrestling event, let alone WrestleMania.
Yep.
Should have put Nia Jax there. She came back the next night, but there you go. So then we had the match.
Yep.
Now, I don't often compare wrestling to a work of art, but this was a work of art.
Yeah, this was something else, wasn't it?
This was the anatomy of John Cena's life, the anatomy of what pro wrestling is, the anatomy of what acting can do and editing and what people can do when their hands are tied and they're backed into a corner. This was phenomenal. It was a short film, obviously, essentially. So, should we go into it?
I think we absolutely have to go into it. I think most of the people listening, like, this is the match that most people cared about because it's one that you don't need the crowd for, and it's one where they finally let Bray explore a little bit more of his, like, weirdness, and it just feels like the gloves are off, and we can get unhinged, as it were.
Yeah. So let's the both of us go through the old abandon hope, all ye who enter here door.
Yeah.
So we start with Cena, and I'm gonna talk kind of in metaphor real quick. If you have anything in the middle, just throw it in there, cause yeah, I might be just being my most pretentious here. So John Cena is in the dark. So this is essentially John Cena's creation. First thing we see, Vince McMahon cutting that promo, the Ruthless Aggression promo. So if you remember, Vince cuts the Ruthless Aggression promo. A couple of weeks later, Cena comes out to interrupt Kurt Angle, which Bray is then doing.
Mm-hmm.
So they recreate the Ruthless Aggression intro, which is amazing. John Cena coming out dressed as the fucking prototype. John Cena at this point used to wear the clothes matching the football teams of the area to try and get over. But John Cena was everything that Vince wanted. He is an alpha. He's built. He is muscular. He is, the face of the company type, right? Now, of course, he was going to get fired at that time, but he just keeps screaming Ruthless Aggression, which is a breakdown about the fact that, like, this time around, that's not how it works. So you're not, the world that you're in is not some sort of fake thing where you're the good guy, and because you're the good guy, you win. This isn't where the alpha males win. So it's essentially Bray Wyatt trying to break down that John Cena is not the hero that he claims to be.
Yeah.
So then we get the flashbacks, and you get Bray Wyatt asking, "Is this what you want to do with your life?" And you get the photos of Cena when he was a kid, and this and that, and you get the images of him holding the belt, and then you get they lay the idea that perhaps John Cena didn't really want to grow up to be Vince McMahon's little alpha male puppet, that he wanted to be something else. So then we go back to the 1980s to figure out what Vince McMahon's image of the hero babyface is. Hulk Hogan. So we have the promo where John Cena comes in and he's lifting the weights at incredible speed, and there's Vince McMahon there loving it. And Bray Wyatt goes, "This is what being a stud is all about, having muscles no matter what talent you possess."
Yeah, and he was saying, like, we need the big guys. You gotta be a big, strong guy and all that.
Exactly. So he was so good. He was American. It was also what exceptionalism. And if you look back at Hogan's career, especially during the very first Fed run, it was always going to be fat guys, King Kong, Andre, foreign guys, the Iron Sheik. Who else did he wrestle? The Russians. I'm sure there's like a billion Russian guys that wrestled him, or like smaller guys that weren't the same build as him. So Flair, Piper, Savage.
Yeah.
So you see it through Cena that the face of the company is everything, as long as it's you work out and you're massive. And then you see that Cena can't do anything. He tries to fight, but he can't even literally lift his arms. So it's kind of the idea that you prioritize your body over your sort of talent. As long as you look good, you don't have to be a good wrestler.
Yeah.
Cena did the 5 moves of doom. That's all he ever did, right? And there's that quote, which is what's the quote? Wrestling isn't wrestling.
Yeah.
So it's not actually. So it was the idea, and then we move on to Cena being the rapper, and the idea of the rapper Cena was the fact that he always attacked people's appearance or their sexuality. He used to call Michael Cole gay. He used to call CM Punk cookie puss, or I can't remember if that was The Rock that did it. But every sort of face of the company has that really obnoxious, like how you look back on pretty much every hero movie and you realize the hero is just a massive prick.
Yeah.
And you kind of look back and you're like, good God, this guy's actually like rude to women. He kind of gets into fights for like no reason.
Yeah.
So I suppose it's the idea that, Bray, you're fat, you're stupid, I'm muscular, I'm a hero because I'm muscular and I look great because I say my prayers and I train. So you can even notice that Bray keeps using the word brother, obviously being the whole Cena thing.
Yeah.
And he goes, what you gonna do, brother, when you realize that egomania has been running wild on you? So Cena can't stop. He does the these nuts joke, if you remember as well.
Yeah.
He says Bray Wyatt is a slut for opportunity, blowing every chance.
Mm-hmm.
Calls him Husky Harris, which obviously they used to chant that when he first debuted as Bray Wyatt. It's like the time where he comes out and said that, back in the day, he's like, Del Rio, you don't really own that car. You just rent them out for WWE events. So it's like, John Cena was never the hero. He was always the guy who was basically the biggest twat in the room that never got told off for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hence, Bray Wyatt... Sorry, go ahead.
He also like sacrificed the integrity of everybody else just to get himself over. Like everything that he did
and himself along the way.
Yeah. Everything was just out of self-interest for him.
Yeah, he sacrificed who he is, his morals, his kind of the idea of what he should be, who he is in wrestling, and hence Bray Wyatt looks at him and says, you're not a hero, you're a bully, you're a horrible person, you take the weakness of others and you turn them into jokes. You'll do anything for fame, John. Congratulations, you're the man now, John. Poor lonely John Cena. That you're the man now, John. I think that line is from CM Punk's promo as well a few years back. Because I don't know if you remember during the pipe bomb, he did the whole like, John Cena, you're a dynasty. You're the New York Knicks, which for some reason annoyed Cena to the point where he punched him in the face. Because CM Punk thought he was the hero of the people. John Cena thought that he was the hero of the people. So it kind of touches on that. Especially the whole bit at the end, poor lonely John Cena. It's like you sacrificed everything, became a puppet, and now you realize that everything you've done along the way, as you said, was you basically cutting everyone's legs to make yourself look taller.
Yeah.
So then we get the flashback to WrestleMania 30, which obviously at the time Bray Wyatt was like at its peak. I think we collectively, the world, the internet, kind of had, sky high kind of ideas of where the character would go, what he could do. But if you remember, Cena beats him clean, and that was it. And that was it for about 5 years, basically.
Yeah.
If you remember, because it was the thing. You got the whole world. He's got the whole world in his hands, catching on with people. So he then says to Cena, "Now that you know you're a horrible prick, take the chair, hit me, do what you're gonna do before." Because back then you didn't know who you were, but now that you know who you are under this Firefly Funhouse, you're supposed to hit me. Cena goes for it, and then he turns heel. He did the unthinkable. And then you get the NWO flashbacks. So what's the worst thing that you could do if you're in the 90s and you turned heel and you left for WCW? Like, that was it. Like, he turns heel, so that was it. Like, the chair show, it's the idea that he went heel, but as in if Hulk Hogan went heel. And there's a cool little interesting touch here, which I really liked, which was Bray Wyatt said, "I was red in a company or something," or I can't remember if he says company, but in a world that was black and white.
Yeah.
Which, did you notice the t-shirt he was wearing when Cena came out?
Yeah.
NWO Wolfpack, which is red. So definitely that happened, and you see Cena, and he's in the NWO clothes, and you see Vince McMahon and Macho Man, and Vince is going, "This is good shit." And then you see that, Cena starts to beat down. He's got a Wolfpack shirt, and he's like, "Well, I'm a heel. I'm going to beat the shit out of Bray." And then if you notice, you see the little photos of Cena's kind of worst failures, which was Money in the Bank against CM Punk, Edge cashing in, losing to The Rock, losing the unification match, getting murdered by Brock Lesnar, the one from ECW One Night Stand 2006, losing to Shawn Michaels on that Raw match after an hour.
Yeah,
losing
and it's
to The Undertaker.
To a backdrop of the crowd chanting "Cena sucks" too.
Yeah, because they know that he's phony. They know that he's holding people down. So Cena then goes back to himself, because he no longer has the NWO shirt. Realizes that, like, he's the actual heel. He's the bad guy, and he's just been brutally assaulting the Pig Boy, which is like the most childish representation of the Bray Wyatt psyche, which is what the Firefly Funhouse or the show is about. So he's just been putting someone's dreams and just pummeling him in the face. So we get to the end. You get the point where we see that maybe Cena realizes that he's the bad guy, because he stares at his hands and he's like, "Shit, I started off with good intentions, and I ended up losing myself along the way. You got everything you asked for, John, but who are you? Who really is John Cena? Was John Cena really a hero?" It kind of takes the 18 years of John Cena's career and makes you want to look back at everything and be like, here's a different way of inspecting what the John Cena career, the John Cena character is, who he is. And then the Fiend beats him, and John Cena just disappears. Because John Cena said he's going to put a stop to the most hyped, or does he say hyped, overprivileged, and overrated talent in WWE. That was about John Cena.
Wow.
So that wasn't about Bray. He was talking about the character John Cena was going to die. And then he literally disappears. And much like the joke, you can't see him. There you go.
Holy
That's my breakdown of
shit.
Yeah. I kind of was coming up with this as I was watching it. I'm not sure it works. I'm sure people have a million different theories. This is what I took from it personally. It was just a complete decimation of who the John Cena character is, who he thinks he is, who he actually is, and the fact that Bray Wyatt just wanted to get rid of all of that in that little room, because in that little room, Vince McMahon couldn't control him, you see.
Yeah.
So, there you go. What a fucking story, though. What an insane thing to put across, by the way.
That your theory works so fucking well, because it's everything that in their match 6 years ago that Bray Wyatt was trying to do. Like, he was trying to convince the world that something could happen to the John Cena character if he were just shown his true self. But obviously he's not able to go the whole way through with that because of WWE creative and stuff. And this feels like what I said earlier, like the gloves are off, and now the reins have been handed to Bray, and he's allowed to tell this story, because, like, what the
in that lid behind that door, anything goes.
Exactly,
you know?
yeah. He has, like, full creative control over this one little thing. And
exactly.
Yeah, and I like everything that you said perfectly explains the symbolism that was shown throughout it. So like that really fucking adds up. Like I would be very surprised if you were wrong about that. Like I would expect Bray Wyatt himself to be like, yeah, that's what I was trying to say the whole time.
Like, yeah, like I could say, you know, maybe he didn't want to kill Cena the character, or he wanted to just make me say that, like, you know, he just wanted to hold a mirror. I don't know what the outcome was trying to meant to achieve, but I kind of like the idea. It was like, yeah, you can't see him. Because who even was he this entire time? Was he a hero only for kids? It kind of asks the questions that marks complain and people complain about the John Cena character for years, but presented it in a way that's like, even John Cena doesn't know who John Cena is.
Yeah.
So all those years you thought John Cena's burying people and he's putting people down and he's bullying. It's like he was just playing up to what a 60-year-old man thinks a babyface should do. Was this ever the real Cena?
Yeah.
Is a real Cena a horrible person because he wasn't the hero? Or was he just like everyone else and flawed? Because there's a line earlier in the match where Bray's like, oh, this is where demons and monsters and so all play together. And you get those little pictures of like little random things. I can't remember what they were off the top of my head. But this will never happen again. I as much as I love the broken stuff from Matt Hardy, this was like that plus like another level to it.
Yeah, it was like that plus like substantial narration or like genuine sort of layered storytelling instead of like fantasism and surreal like comedy, I guess.
Yeah, it had elements of like obviously the surrealism and the little like look at little puppet Vince McMahon, but and like I guess the Matt Hardy thing, everything that was there represented something that you're supposed to read into it.
Yeah.
And I'm not being that guy who's like I'm reading too much into these things. It's just wrestling. I know it's just wrestling. I get it, but they obviously are trying to tell you something during that match specifically. That look at the AJ Undertaker. That's closer to the broken Matt Hardy stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
This was more like the editing is what kind of told the story, and I fucking loved it. I think it's the most unique thing I think I've ever seen in wrestling, ever. And
yeah,
if for anything, it's going to be remembered because of this. And then we had the main event.
yeah. This was. I guess something is really annoying me about Drew McIntyre and the narrative of like he's finally realized his potential after all these years. Like I'm kind of like fine with all that, like whatever. I know he is a genuine talent that was overlooked, and like maybe all the pieces weren't there and now they are, and like I'm fine with all of that, right? But I watched the first like 5 minutes of that fucking documentary and he's just like, of course the fucking virus is happening the year that I'm going to WrestleMania. Like, dude, like the virus is happening and it's killing people all over the world. It's nothing to do with your fucking WrestleMania moment. So like, shut the fuck up. The virus is not happening to you. You fuck, like, you have to at some stage
not out to get you.
Stop being so fucking down on your luck over yourself. Like, Jesus Christ, man. I'm probably being too harsh on him there, but they really fucking drove that home in the first 5 minutes. Like, he just kept on saying like, of course this happens to me. Like, I've waited all my life for this, and now this. Like, I'm not even surprised. Like, dude, like, get over yourself. Like, fuck me.
It was,
like,
I saw that as well, by the way. It's trying to kind of. I wonder if he just generally felt that, and they kind of angled it towards like story of my life. Am I right?
Yeah.
One day you're main eventing, the other day there's a massive fucking epidemic that kills hundreds of thousands of people. Just my luck, and it's kind of like, it's not really your luck, though, is it, mate? It's kind of amongst millions of people.
Yeah.
But I think that was just a framing by the particular kind of like personal story element. I don't think that. I mean, I don't think that he as a person sees it like. I really hope not. Anyways, they kind of left it on a weird, like, kind of what's the word? They kind of didn't left. Yeah, they were like, will he make it to America? Well, obviously they've already fucking taped it, mate. Like, it's already happened. Presumably by the time they were filming him on like Skype and shit, I think it's already happened. My guess is that obviously he can't be there from whatever they stopped taping it from. So yeah, it was a bit strange, and also fuck the fact that they used in the clip of Vince McMahon being like, oh, in 2009 Vince was right all along.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I hate that shit. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
Like it's even with the John Cena story, which they kind of didn't touch on, but John Cena was literally about to get fired.
Yeah.
He was going to get fired I think his contract was coming up in November of 2002, and he just so happened to be doing a Vanilla Ice impression to Rikishi, and I think Rey Mysterio, and it's Stephanie just so happened to hear it, and he was kept on. But they'll sell you as if to say, like, man, this guy had the look. We were just going to push this guy to the moon. Yeah, it's a bit ridiculous with that. Brock Lesnar was kind of an afterthought here, really. I mean, I know they built him up as, like, the guy and like, oh, it's going to be a sham, the main event, but the build-up already told you the conclusion of it. They didn't even do this for Roman. They didn't do this whole like, look at Roman Reigns, and maybe that's something we should look out for to let you know when the WrestleMania result is obvious. So what do we have here? Was it 3 or 4 F5s and 3 or 4 Claymore kicks?
Yeah,
right?
It's
I think it was
what
3
we've
to
come
4.
to expect from Brock matches at this point. I still I did enjoy it. The novelty of two huge guys throwing each other around the ring. I like it. Would have been better with a crowd, but there was like a brief, I would say 5-second moment in this match where I didn't realize there was nobody watching it. And so
yeah. Paul Heyman was really good as well at what he was saying.
Yeah, that always helps.
Kicked out at 1 though from an F5.
Yeah. I don't really I just was not really invested in this story, I don't think. I don't know what it is. I never really liked Drew McIntyre anyway. And I know he went to TNA, and I know that he's proved himself. I know that he is a great fucking pick.
A wrestler's wrestler.
Yeah, I understand all of that. I just don't really. I don't know. The story just didn't really do it for me, and it feels very much like it's just come out of nowhere. And he said, oh well, I'll never be an idiot playing air guitar again or whatever. I don't know. Does that I don't know how to explain.
I don't like the referential to your failures. I don't like the fact they use clips from him in 3MB, because that could really fuck him up in the future. It's just we don't need to know he did that. The whole point when he was doing that is because literally no one had any more faith in him.
Yeah.
He starts it. The problem was when he was at the Rumble, he's still a tweener. He was getting reactions prior to that, but he's still very much the guy who fights heels or faces because he doesn't care who he's fighting.
Yeah.
The second he won the Rumble, call back to the John Cena Bray Wyatt match, he starts acting like an obnoxious prick, and he's supposed to be the babyface. He kicked MVP for no reason. He kicked a bunch of jobbers and beat the shit out of him for no reason. And I know this is wrestling, so the fighting aspect has to exist at some point.
Yeah.
But I don't like it when people then... You're taking just as much pride on a beatdown as the bad guy does. So why do I not like you? Why do I supposed to like you? That's the kind of where I felt like they still don't know how to book a pure babyface, apart from maybe Becky, because I'm pretty sure she has as much input as she probably can get in terms of how she's booked.
Yeah.
It was what it was, as Stone Cold says. It is what it is. But I'm just glad the title match was over and done with, because it clearly was come in, much like Braun and Goldberg. I find it shocking that the shortest matches on both nights were for the world titles.
Yeah, man.
That's mad to think about it that way. But, I suppose it's like the idea like in UFC fight, when, these guys are so good, all you need is a few moves to put them away. They're at that level. Did you know that there was a extra match at WrestleMania?
Well, let me tell you, Miguel, I do know, because I'm seeing it at the bottom of the fucking Wikipedia page right here.
New challenger, Will.
Imagine if he won. Oh my god, I would pop so fucking hard. I swear to god, it would be fucking genius if the Big Show won the fucking title at WrestleMania 36. I swear to god.
As managed by Heyman as well. Like,
yeah.
He's back, baby! It was on Raw. They put it on Raw. They're like, the shocking events after WrestleMania. And he comes out, he's like, I've wrestled for 4 decades. You ain't nothing but a punk. And then he lost in 6 minutes. Well, also, to a lot of people that are like pretty stupid on the internet, they think that Big Show wrestling in 4 decades means that he's been wrestling for 40 years. Just sort yourselves out. That's all. Just think about what you're saying. Please, just think about what you're saying. But overall, a WrestleMania that anything that I was expecting was better than what I was expected. The ones that I thought were obviously doomed, like Taker and AJ, blew me away. Obviously, Cena and Bray, we already talked about that to death here. But overall, we'll never probably watch this WrestleMania in its entirety again in my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
But 2 matches will be in the Hall of Fame of best wrestling, quote-unquote, matches of all time, which is something I didn't expect to be saying out of this show.
Yeah. I guess, like, the only other aspects of rewatchability for me were I really enjoyed the promo for the Becky match. I think...
Oh, yeah, yes.
She is quite simply the best thing about wrestling at the moment, like, objectively. I think
she shouldn't come out in a fucking truck, though. Sorry, she shouldn't come out in the truck. That was a bit like a truck of her own face.
It was weird. It reminded me of, like, if you were watching the news, there'd be a segment at the end of the news where it's like, here's some good news. A cat was rescued up a tree by a nice gentleman in a truck, and then it shows the truck driving away, and it's like, wah, wah, and then the news, like that, you know, that kind of story. That's what that.
And that truck, of course, was Becky Lynch.
That truck was John Lennon. But yeah, that's what that reminded me of.
Fair enough, yeah.
But yeah, I think Becky is the best thing about wrestling at the moment.
Yes, and hopefully they will not just never do these kind of interesting non-matches, but maybe they don't go to that well too often. Bray can do it, and maybe someone who's kind of like the Undertaker character, people who are, you know, they dwell in the darkness.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the likes of Aleister Black can have a fucking graveyard match, but it shows you that when people's hands are tied, they can still get hella creative and kind of work around it.
Yeah.
So props to like the crew, the wrestlers, the writing, the performance, the idea of what it is, trying to explain it. I'm sure that must have been difficult to get a pen to paper to go, now we cut off the Kurt Angle. Now it's NWO. Now it's 2014.
Yeah.
So, you know, you got to give props to that. And that was my match of the night, and probably the best wrestling 15, 20 minutes that I've seen in probably my entire sort of wrestling fandom of watching it. Loved it. Fucking loved it. I was going to say we should talk about Raw, but it was literally nothing of substance because it's already been pre-taped. So nothing really happened on Raw that you need to know, other than they showed the Big Show match, but that was about it.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably it. Like, until this is over, like, nothing substantial is going to happen, so...
Yeah, I think... I'd agree with you that everything's already been done. So I think if they continue recording, I don't know if we're going to do more modern WWE pay-per-views, because we tend to kind of do it from Rumble to Mania.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they'll be doing some really interesting shit. Who knows? Wrestling from people's back houses. Who knows? But all in all, I went into it with kind of rock bottom expectations.
Yeah.
Thought those were being confirmed, and then as soon as I saw something else, it went from, God, I'm barely staying awake to watch this, to like, this is some shit I've never seen before in my life. So, it's a WrestleMania of you pick your own match here and enjoy it. But yeah, man, that was I mean there'll be never WrestleMania like this ever again. It's going to be a reference point in the sense of like, remember that WrestleMania there was nobody there?
Yeah.
That was crazy. But yeah, as we talked about, at least for a little while, it kind of took away the fears and kind of anxiousness of the current situation. So you got to hand it WWE for doing that.
Yeah, I agree.
So should we get the hell out of here?
Absolutely, we should. We'll be back next week or the week after with an ECW review, and who knows from then on out. We'll take things as they come, and that will be that. So hopefully the listeners are looking forward to that, and hopefully everyone is staying safe and washing their hands, I guess.
Yeah, don't forget to like, subscribe, wash your hands, and just generally, just like kind of message to everyone who's listening. We don't have like a million listeners in the world, but try and reach out to someone that you haven't spoken to, because I think during this time it's just nice to talk to people and always have someone to talk to. So I think people should really try and at least talk to someone they haven't spoken to in a little while, just to make sure everybody's okay, because we can only get through this together.
Yeah, agreed.
So, yeah, on that note, the usuals, the links will be all in the description. I'm sure we'll try to be more consistent with uploads, seeing as kind of everything's on a standstill, and I guess people will want content. Who knows? But, that's all from me here. Thank you very much for listening. WWP says good day, good night, and good afternoon, depending on which one. So, peace.
Godspeed, my friends.